What's up, guys? Marvelous Joe here at the top of the episode to ask you if you like listening to music on Spotify, or do you enjoy listening to podcasts on Spotify? Well, guess what? Dynamic Duel is now on that platform. Finally, after about a year and a half of waiting, you can listen to all of our old episodes by searching for Dynamic Duel in the podcast section of Spotify, and you can listen to all of our new episodes by hitting that follow button. Spotify is the place to be for music and podcasts, so if you have an account, definitely check us out there. On with the show. Hi, and welcome to the Dynamic Duel Podcast, a weekly show where we review superhero films and debate the superiority between Marvel and DC by comparing their characters in stat-based battle simulations. I'm Marvelous Joe.
And I'm his twin brother, Johnny DC.
And you are sick as hell.
I am very sick.
Stay away from me. DC stands for diseased and contagious. You better not get me sick.
Yeah, apologies in advance for any, sniffles or coughs that get through the editing. We do all of this recording and editing in one night most of the time, so some of it may slip through.
Yeah, in this episode, it's a duel episode, and we'll be finding out who would win in a fight between Black Adam versus Apocalypse. And of course, this is leading up to our Shazam review that's going to be taking place in our next episode, and Black Adam is a well-known Shazam villain who has similar powers, if not the same powers, I think.
Yeah, the same powers, just from a different set of gods that he pulls that power from.
Yeah, and Apocalypse, as many of you guys know, is a powerful X-Men villain. He was the lead bad guy in X-Men Age of Apocalypse, where he was done no justice, but we'll be sure to do him justice in this episode when we learn all about him and all about Black Adam.
Yeah, I'm actually excited for this because Apocalypse is just one of those villains that I know exists. I just know nothing about him. So this will be interesting.
All right. Before we get into our duel match, we're going to go over the superhero movie news over the past week. There are a few items to talk about, but we're going to focus mainly on one of them because, again, Jonathan has no voice. So it'll be mainly me talking. And we're going to be talking about how Angelina Jolie will be starring in Marvel's The Eternals film, likely as the character ShDEsI, but we'll discuss that later this episode. As always, you could check out the segment times in our episode description by checking out the show notes so you can skip ahead to whatever section of this episode you want to. We want to give a huge, massive thank you to Gav I, Madeline Loves Comics, ShuttleFan68, and Bocephus Moonshine for giving us reviews on iTunes, and thank you to everyone else who also gave us ratings on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. We're up to 92, which is amazing. That number jumped so much over this past week, and it's kind of restored my faith in humanity.
And oh my gosh, the reviews too.
The reviews are just too kind. I don't know what to do with that. I'm not good at taking compliments. We're close to 100 ratings on iTunes, which means we're halfway to our goal of 200 ratings on iTunes, at which point we will be eligible to become critics on Rotten Tomatoes. And our reviews for the Marvel and DC movies will count toward those films' Rotten Tomatoes score, which is a huge goal of ours. If you guys could help us out, if you haven't rated us yet, be sure to go ahead and go onto iTunes or Apple Podcasts if you have an account and rate us there if you enjoy the show.
If you don't even bother. Yeah, no, please rate us either way.
But yeah, thanks again to everyone who rated us. And with that out of the way,
quick to the no prize.
A no prize is an award that Marvel used to give out up until the 90s to fans. Our version, the Dynamic Duel No Prize, is a digital award that we post on social media that Jonathan personally draws for those who we feel gave the best answer to our question of the week. And you better stay up and draw this.
All right.
Because these people deserve it.
Uh-huh.
Last week's question was, what episode would you like to see get made in this upcoming What If series that's going to be featured on the Disney Plus app? That was part of the news from last week, is that Disney Plus is going to make an animated anthology What If series based off of the What If comics that Marvel used to make a few decades ago. We got a lot of great answers here. First honorable mention goes to Victor, and this is a long one, and he kind of answers his own question, but he asked, what if Cap and Peggy Carter got married before he disappeared, and she gets tied up in long-standing litigation with all those seeking reparations from Cap's estate for all the property damage he caused? In the big moment at the end, Cap gets found, and because they want after the survivor, the litigation is dropped and the statute of limitations has run to go after Cap So, yeah, he'll probably get away because the statute of limitations will run out. I'm imagining that most of those seeking reparations will be from Europe during World War II fights. So it'll be tied up in international law, and it'll just be a big mess.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see this episode.
Jeremy Hoyt gets honorable mention for asking, what if someone other than Steve Rogers, who lacks humility, had been chosen? And he answers it by saying this person would be more of a typical soldier who doesn't question orders, changing the dynamics in the Avengers, and very much changing the course of the events that led to Civil War.
Huh.
Yep, that's what would happen. Honorable mention goes to Mia Morais, who asked, what if Marvel had villains as good as DC? And I just have to say, that's a horrible question because
I think it's a great question.
Because that is answered on a daily basis.
No, I think it's a great
Marvel.
question. It's a fantastic question.
Honorable mention goes to Andy Freeman, who asked, what if Spider-Man became the Punisher? And I'm assuming like he didn't get bit by the radioactive spider and just avenged Uncle Ben by taking up, guns and vengeance. Yeah. I think he probably wouldn't be as well equipped to handle all the things that Frank Castle
Right, because he wasn't like in the Vietnam War. He was just a teenager.
He'd probably get killed.
There you go.
He'd probably be arrested. He'd be in prison right now.
That'd be a great episode.
Harrison Fox gets honorable mention for, actually he did ask multiple questions, but we just chose one, and that goes for other people that asked multiple questions. We just chose the best one.
Yeah.
Harrison Fox asked, what if the Defenders or the Hand had assisted during the Battle of New York, which took place during the first Avengers film? And that is my dream. I would love to see an animated anthological short that showed what Daredevil and Luke Cage and the rest of the guys were doing during this fight.
The Hand are villains, though. I'm not sure they would have helped.
I think they would have all united against the common threat of the alien species. But yeah, I mean, you're right. The Hand are a group of villains. Bodo Winter gets honorable mention for asking, what if Victor Von Doom was the one with Ben, Sue, and Johnny during the cosmic event, and Reed was the bad? That's an interesting question. Given Victor Von Doom's history with his mom and growing up in the gypsy camp and his mom going to hell and his desire to like rescue her from there, I think that Doom's focus with the team would be primarily selfish and for personal gain. So it's kind of hard for me to see that. I think the Fantastic Four would ultimately end up being a bad guy team, possibly like the Frightful Four. Although I don't see Johnny and Ben and Sue going along with that, so they might actually switch sides to Reed. Although if Reed's bad, then who knows what's going on. Interesting question. Honorable mention goes to Caleb Albers for asking, what if the other half of the universe survived the snapping? That's a great question.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have any, the primary original Avengers team in the MCU. It would be like Black Panther and Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. I would love to see how they would tackle this whole whatever they're doing. Like, obviously, they couldn't go into the quantum realm, or maybe they could. Maybe Doctor Strange could take him into the quantum realm, if that's what they're doing in Endgame. Good question.
That one I actually wouldn't be surprised if we actually saw as an episode in this Disney Plus series.
Yeah, probably. Honorable mention goes to Nick Maiden, who asked, what if Thor battled Conan? And I'm assuming he's talking about Conan O'Brien, the talk show host, and Conan would totally get decimated.
Actually, I'm pretty sure he's talking about Conan the Barbarian, who I guess Marvel owns the rights to now.
Right.
He's a member of the Avengers in the comics currently.
Yeah, he is. That would be a pretty good fight, actually. I think Thor would win. Honorable mention goes to Joel Seagrave, who asked, what if the Punisher kills the Marvel Universe? Which I think they've already done in a series. But yeah, I mean...
But they haven't animated it yet.
They haven't animated it yet. That would be cool to watch, definitely. Ken Johnson asked, what if Captain America was really a sleeper Hydra agent? Shut up, Ken Johnson. Nobody likes Secret Empire. Actually, it was a pretty damn good story. I would like to see that, actually, as an animated episode. Definitely. Sir Patrick Hindsight asked, what if Wolverine had become Lord of the Vampires? Well, the answer to that is that he would eventually revert back to his normal form because his healing factor cures vampirism. So, last honorable mention goes to Matt Estes, who asked, what if Thor was a supervillain? And, we've seen him be turned, a few times by, like, the Enchantress and people like that, and, he's hard to deal with. I think it was the clone of Thor, I think his name was Ragnarok, he ended up killing Bill Foster, and so he's just really deadly. It would suck. That's the answer to that question. The winner of this episode's No Prize, it goes to Jonathan Hazelton, who asked the question, what if Deadpool killed the MCU? And I would love to see that as an animated short because it was such a great series from the comics. And I think it would be the best way for like the X-Men universe to kind of take their first steps into the MCU world.
Does he actually kill everyone in the comic?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the story.
There's no way Disney would ever do that.
No, they wouldn't, but it would be amazing. Especially if it's, voiced by Ryan Reynolds and the rest of the MCU cast.
True. That would be great.
It would be so much fun. But yeah, that does it for this week's No Prize. If you, the listener, want to win a No Prize, go ahead and stay tuned to later on this episode when we ask another question of the week. Congrats again to Jonathan Hazelton. And moving on from that,
On to the news.
So we received word this past week that Angelina Jolie will be starring in Marvel's The Eternals film, which is being directed by Chloe Zhao and is supposed to come out sometime like late next year, 2020.
Oh, really? That soon? Oh, wow.
Yeah, they haven't announced an official date, but that's pretty much my guess, considering that the film's going to start production later on this year. I think this is fantastic news. I'm a big fan. Oh, I wouldn't say I'm a big fan of Angelina Jolie. I guess I was a big fan of Angelina Jolie, and then she got weird with the whole Brad Pitt thing.
Yeah.
She kind of turned into a human version of Skeletor. But
I honestly can't remember like the last Angelina Jolie film I've seen.
the last one I can remember that she put out was Maleficent, but I never saw that.
I saw that.
Oh, you did?
I didn't see that until it was like on Netflix though.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She is gorgeous. She's a gorgeous woman. I highly suspect that she will be playing the character of ShDEsI, who is a very seductive, sultry character. And it'll be nice to see Angelina kind of go back to that type of character because I don't know, I just really happen to like when she plays that type of character.
She was great in Wanted.
Right, which was another comic book movie. And she was also great in Beowulf, even though that was motion capture. But like the way she kind of like acts in that film is kind of like how I suspect she might be acting as the character of ShDEsI in this Eternals film. ShDEsI is an Eternal in the comic books, and she is very adept at matter transmutation. All Eternals have the same power sets of like matter transmutation and cosmic energy and flight, immortality and invulnerability and super strength and speed and stuff like that. Each of the Eternals, though, they do specialize in one of those powers, and ShDEsI happens to specialize in the matter transmutation power. Whereas like Icarus, he's more like, you know, the strong energy guy. Mercury is like the speed guy. So you have all these characters with all these different powers who were worshipped in the comics in the past as the Greek gods. Now, they weren't really the Greek gods. They were just worshipped as them.
Right.
As we mentioned in a previous episode talking about the Eternals news, I had mentioned that I hope that they use this opportunity to look into the history of the Marvel Cinematic Universe prior to World War II. So I want to see like Marvel Cinematic Universe during the ancient Greek times and stuff like that, when these Eternal characters were worshipped as deities in the comics.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, and kind of see how the Marvel Cinematic Universe unfolds from there and follow these Eternals characters into the modern era. I highly suspect that they're going to use this opportunity to set up mutants within the MCU as well, because Eternals were created by the Celestials. They were human experiments by the Celestials, who are these godlike beings who facilitate evolution on Earth. And they also facilitated the potential within Homo sapiens to eventually become Homo superior, who are mutants.
Right.
So there's a ton of potential here to not only explore the past of the MCU, but also set up mutants in the MCU.
Yeah, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Eternals is the gateway to the X-Men.
Yeah. Another interesting tidbit of news that we got, it's a rumor, but we heard that Hercules himself may be the lead character of the Eternals film and not Icarus, as we were initially led to believe. Hercules, of course, is a mainstay of the Avengers team in the comics, and he is actually the Greek god Hercules who joined the Avengers team. And I think maybe they're going to kind of just meld the Greek deities with these Eternals characters within this film.
Right.
And just have them all be the same thing.
Right.
And I think that's a fantastic idea because I love Hercules as an Avenger. He plays such a prominent role in the comics. And to see him on the big screen, I think, is just great. But that brings us to our question of the week. Who would you cast as Hercules, the rumored lead in the Eternals film? You know, again, it's just a rumor. It's possible that Hercules won't even be in the film, but I would like to see who you guys think would portray that character the best. Post your answer to our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or email us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com. We'll pick our favorite answer and draw that person a Dynamic Duel No Prize that we'll post to social media. And that does it for all the news, so we're going to go ahead and get into our duel match where we find out who's going to win between Black Adam and Apocalypse. Should be exciting.
Let's do it.
All right, Black Adam versus Apocalypse. Two really big bad guys from DC and Marvel, respectively, who have their roots tied into ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
And extremely powerful villains. Really excited to see who's going to win in this one. As you guys know, if you've listened to our show before, how we determine the winner between these two characters is through math. Basically, we take their stats that are provided by the official Marvel Power Rankings grid, and we use those numbers to extrapolate the DC stats, and we compare them against each other in what's known as a Monte Carlo simulation. Now, what that simulation does basically is it randomizes those stat numbers along a normal distribution, which looks like a bell curve, and it compares those numbers 1,000 times. So we run 1,000 simulations, and that gives us a percentage of wins for each character.
And no character ever wins 100% of the time. There's always a way for Batman to beat Superman,
right?
Essentially,
right, and that all happens naturally through the randomization process. So it's all based in math and science. There's no bias here because Jonathan and I are extremely biased. So we try to keep it as objective as possible through statistics. And before we run these simulations, what we like to do is we like to give a breakdown of each character's history and abilities, and then kind of speculate on how we think one of those 1,000 matches would pan out. So let's go ahead and get started by learning about Black Adam. Jonathan, you think you can make it through this?
I can do it.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay, so Black Adam is to Shazam as Bizarro is to Superman, or Reverse Flash is to the Flash. He's the dark mirror reflection of the hero, with more or less the same powers. But Black Adam is a little bit more nuanced than your average counterpart, in that he often operates as an anti-hero, and is seen as a superpowered freedom fighter to the fictional North African country of Kandak, that nation's own Superman, as it were. Black Adam's real name is Teth Adam, and he was born 3,000 years ago in ancient Kandak. He was enslaved by the neighboring Egyptians, and during his servitude to the Egyptian prince Khufu, who would later be reincarnated as the hero Hawkman, Adam's moral character was recognized by the pharaoh's high priest, at that time, the wizard Shazam. Seeking a worthy champion to imbue with godlike power, Shazam bestowed Adam with the powers of the Egyptian deities Shu, Heru, Aman, Zehudi, Aton, and Mehen, making him the hero known as Mighty Adam.
What?
Yeah. Serving as a protector of Egypt and its surrounding area, he married a Kandaki woman named Shirudi, and they had 2 sons, Gon and Harut. For a slave who had become an immortal superpowered champion, Adam's life was good, until the Egyptian priest named Akton, who was a metamorphi that wielded the Orb of Ra, partnered with the immortal villain Vandal Savage and conquered Kandak, killing Adam's family and many others in the process. And you can learn more about Akton in our Metamorpho vs. Super Skrull episode. With the help of the wizard Naboo, who you can learn more about in our Dr. Fate vs. Dr. Strange episode, Adam was able to capture Akton and kill him. Adam then used his power to overthrow the rest of Kandak's conquerors and claim the nation for himself. Disturbed by Adam's use of his power, the wizard Shazam used a powerful spell to strip Adam of his powers and soul, trapping them in a mystical scarab necklace. Adam, who by this time had lived for hundreds of years, aged rapidly into a dried skeleton, and Shazam buried the scarab amulet in the tomb of Ramesses II, and Mighty Adam was from then on referred to as Black Adam in legend. Millennia later, archaeologists Cece and Marilyn Batson, the parents of Billy Batson, were hired by the Savannah Corporation to excavate the tomb of Ramesses II with the help of their colleague Theo Adam, the descendant of Black Adam. When Theo found the scarab amulet, he became obsessed with it and killed the Batsons so that he could steal it. Theo returned to Fawcett City in America, and after confusing Billy Batson's Shazam for his father C.C. Batson, he made the connection between Shazam and Black Adam. When he spoke the wizard Shazam's name, he transformed into his superpowered ancestor. When Black Adam was put on trial for the murder of the Batsons, he explained how he and Theo were separate individuals, and he was acquitted of any charges when it was found out that Black Adam had different fingerprints from Theo. Wanting to prove himself as a hero, and above any influence of the murderous Theo, Black Adam joined the Justice Society of America, which is sort of like a sister team to the Justice League. But it wasn't long before Black Adam's ancient eye for an eye sense of justice brought him into conflict with the rest of the Justice Society when a terrorist leader named Cobra was set free during a trial when his zealots threatened to bomb innocents outside of the courthouse. Black Adam formed a new team with both heroes and villains who shared a similar concept of justice, and together they tracked down Cobra and killed him. Black Adam fled to Kahndaq afterward, where history repeated itself, and he overthrew the country's existing militant dictatorship and positioned himself as its new ruler. After fending off the entire Justice Society, Black Adam was allowed to remain in control of Kahndaq as long as he never left its borders. In an effort to gain favor with Black Adam and his country, the international crime syndicate known as Intergang gifted him with an Egyptian slave woman named Adriana and $2 million in African gold. Black Adam responded by killing the Intergang members and allowing Adriana to live free in Kahndaq. The two fell in love, and Black Adam was able to use the Mystic Scarab necklace that was previously used by Shazam to imprison his soul to now grant Adriana element-controlling powers, and she took on the name Isis. The two got married, and together they broke up many Intergang-run slavery rings while searching for Adriana's younger brother. They found him, beaten and paralyzed, and Black Adam bestowed upon him some of his own power, making him the hero Osiris. The tamed Black Adam had a family once again, complete with a talking crocodile named Sobek.
What? Why? Why talking crocodile?
I don't know, like the Shazam family has like a talking tiger, Tawny. I don't know, this was their counterpart.
Weird, okay.
But Sobek turned out to be Famine, one of the 4 horsemen of the planet Apocalypse.
The planet Apocalypse?
Yep, which were engineered by Intergang to destroy Black Adam. Intergang has ties to Apocalypse.
Okay.
Sobek killed Osiris, and the horsemen caused a blight that spread across Kahndaq, killing thousands. And though Black Adam and Isis were able to kill famine, pestilence, and war, Isis sacrificed herself to save Black Adam from death. After his family's funeral, Black Adam tracked Death to the neighboring Intergang-associated country of Bialia, where he killed all 2 million of its men, women, and children in his hunt for the final horseman. He eventually found Death and killed him, after which the grief-fueled Black Adam tore across the planet, destroying famous landmarks and fending off almost the entire pantheon of DC superheroes in an event known as World War III. He was finally stopped by Billy Batson's Shazam, who by this point had become the keeper of the wizard's power and guardian of the Rock of Eternity. He depowered Black Adam and changed his transformation word from Shazam to something secret. The now human Adam wandered the Middle East, trying to guess his new word of power. He eventually learned what it was while visiting a Fawcett City malt shop. It was chocolate egg cream.
Really?
Yeah. In the New 52, the ancient Teth Adam was the uncle of Shazam's champion, Amam, who Adam rescued from slavery. Adam was fatally injured during their escape, and Amam shared his power with Adam to help him recover. Adam ended up killing his nephew in order to gain the rest of his power, which he used to overthrow the slave lords and save Kahndaq from the 7 deadly sins. The wizard Shazam trapped Black Adam behind a wall of hieroglyphics, which Dr. Sivana was able to decipher in the present thanks to his magic eye, and he freed Black Adam. Powers-wise, Black Adam shares the same powers as Billy Batson's Shazam, whom you can learn more about in our Shazam vs. Black Bolt episode, though Adam draws his power from Egyptian gods rather than Greek. He has the stamina of Shu, the speed of Heru, also known as Horus, the strength of Amon, the wisdom of Zehudi, the power of Aton, and the courage of Mehen. That's all of his powers.
That's not nearly enough.
You wouldn't be surprised at how well he's able to use that power set. He took on like the entire DC universe.
That's fine. I mean, anybody could do that, really.
What?
If you think about it.
No.
Especially Apocalypse. Let's go ahead and get into him. Now, Apocalypse is one of the X-Men's most powerful villains. He lives only to ensure the survival of the fittest. Not only is it his belief, it is also tasked to him by the Celestials themselves, who are the facilitators of evolution on Earth in the Marvel Universe, as we've already talked about earlier this episode. So, Apocalypse's real name is En Sabah Nur. and he's one of Earth's earliest mutants, born nearly 5,000 years ago in ancient Egypt. As a baby, his tribe discarded him to die in the harsh desert sun for having gray and blue skin. But he was discovered by Baal, the leader of a band of raiding nomads who recognized his power and adopted him as his own. The nomads were a fierce tribe who taught Ensabanur that only the strongest would survive, especially under the harsh rule of Pharaoh Rama-Tut, who many believed was a god, but was in reality Kang the Conqueror, a time-traveling Avengers villain. Baal explained to Nur that the Pharaoh Rama-Tut was not a god but just a regular man who arrived in a sphinx, which was in reality Kang's time ship. Together, Baal and Nur found the ship deep underground, but a cave entrapped them. Baal died, but Nur's mutant physiology made him able to survive the weeks without food or water, and he eventually escaped. Captured in his weakened state, he was enslaved to Rama-Tut and swore his vengeance upon the pharaoh. So there's some similarities in the histories of these two characters.
Yeah, always, surprisingly.
After many years as a slave, Ensabanur was thrown off a pyramid to die when his mutant powers activated, and he grew in size, strength, and durability to defeat his captors. He finally confronted Pharaoh Rama-Tut, aka Kang the Conqueror, and learned that the villain traveled back in time to ancient Egypt solely to find and control young Ensabanur, who would grow to become the most powerful being on the planet. Nur attacked and defeated Kang's army, forcing Kang to escape back into the future as Nur became a powerful conqueror. He traveled the world with his clan, known as the Riders of the Dark, starting wars against ancient Rome, the Persian Empire, and Alexander the Great, all in an effort to destroy the weak and empower the strong. Around 1000 AD, Apocalypse came across a crashed celestial spaceship that belonged to the celestial Isan the Searcher. When Nur entered the ship, he heard Isan's voice speak to him, calling him Apocalypse, and offering the ship's technology to reshape the world and its populace into its greatest potential. Nur accepted his role as an instrument of the Celestials and evolution, and the ship transformed and enhanced him into Apocalypse, who now had celestial armor and tech. You can learn more about the Celestials in our Thanos vs. Darkseid Duel episode. Apocalypse used his new abilities to empower 4 of his strongest warriors into his horsemen: pestilence, famine, war, and death, and together they popped up throughout history to enforce their rule of survival of the fittest. In 19th century England, Apocalypse was awakened from his hibernation by Dr. Nathaniel Essex, who Apocalypse granted with powers and immortality to continue his research and experiments in eugenics and Darwinism, as Apocalypse went back into hibernation. Dr. Essex took on the name Sinister, now essentially an attendant to Apocalypse, and spent a century trying to devise a way to defeat Apocalypse and free himself. He manipulated the X-Men member Cyclops and a clone of Jean Grey into having a son named Nathan Christopher Charles Summers, who would later be known as Cable, and you can learn all about him in our Booster Gold vs. Cable Duel episode. Nathan was so powerful that his birth immediately awakened Apocalypse from hibernation, who saw that the planet was now filling up with mutants. Apocalypse recruited 4 new horsemen. At the time, the X-Men member Angel had lost his wings and was brainwashed by Apocalypse into becoming the Horseman Death. Apocalypse gave Warren new metallic wings that were razor sharp and had feathers that were laced with a neurotoxin. As Death, Warren defeated the members of X-Factor, comprised of the original X-Men roster, and imprisoned them in Apocalypse's celestial ship, cloaked high above New York City. Warren eventually came to his senses, however, and teamed up with X-Factor to defeat Apocalypse and crash land the ship. Apocalypse set up a new base on the blue area of the moon and realized that Cyclops' infant son Nathan would grow up to be Cable, the time-traveling mutant. He kidnapped the child and infected him with a techno-organic virus that would handicap Nathan for the rest of his life, and that most of his psychic abilities would now have to be dedicated towards stopping the spread of his disease. Apocalypse's then efforts to cull the weak were postponed by an attack by a clone of Cable named Strife, who Apocalypse had raised in the future. Strife took over the moon base and Apocalypse's riders, forcing Apocalypse to team up with the X-Men to defeat him. The battle forced Apocalypse to go into hibernation once again, but he was awakened by the emergence of the X-Men villain Onslaught. And Apocalypse devised a plan to team up with Cable to attack Onslaught on the astral plane and rescue Franklin Richards, the son of Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman.
Why would Apocalypse be interested in rescuing Franklin Richards?
Because Franklin Richards at the time was being held by Onslaught to render him unbeatable, basically. And so Onslaught knew that if they rescued Franklin, that Onslaught would be vulnerable. But also, in the end, it turned out Apocalypse was actually trying to kill Franklin and steal his power. Later, in another bid for power, Apocalypse captured 12 of the most powerful mutants on Earth to siphon their energy. The plan was thwarted by Cyclops, however, who merged with Apocalypse during the absorption process. The composite Apocalypse/Cyclops being was eventually separated by Jean Grey, who was trying to rescue her husband. Apocalypse's psyche was then trapped as a psychic astral form, though he was later resurrected through the techno-organic virus after the events of House of M, where nearly the entire mutant population was depowered. Seeking to restore Earth's lost power, he declared himself the savior of mutant kind and set out to destroy the human population to rebalance it. He was defeated by the X-Men, but rescued by a group of Celestials who refused to let him die. Apocalypse was later cloned in the form of a teen, unaware of his past life, and studied at the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning. He reverted to his evil self during Marvel's Access event when the moralities of all characters were flipped. Apocalypse led the evil X-Men, but was stopped by Thor, who was wielding Yarnborn, an axe blessed with the ability to pierce a Celestial's armor. Recently, an alternate future reality version of Apocalypse came into the main Marvel timeline to attack the X-Men. And in a separate alternate timeline, when Charles Xavier's son Legion tried to kill Magneto but accidentally killed his father instead, Apocalypse took over the Earth and transformed it into his image. And that was called the Age of Apocalypse. Powers-wise, Ensobah Noor's initial abilities were to control his molecular structure, including his size, strength, and aging, rendering him functionally immortal. Since assimilating the celestial technology, as well as augmenting himself through other techno-organic processes, Apocalypse's power set is much more vast. He's able to lift well over 100 tons and has enhanced speed. He's insanely durable, impervious to most damage through his celestial armor. He was able to withstand a shout from Black Bolt and the combined attacks of X-Factor simultaneously. He has psionic abilities such as the ability to read and communicate with lesser minds, as well as psychically battle on the astral plane. He has technopathy, which is the ability to integrate with and control technology. He can teleport. He can alter his shape into whatever he wants, creating any manner of armaments, shields, devices, means of transportation, and even use that power, combined with his evolutionary celestial tech, to grant himself new powers as needed during the battle.
Oh, like in real time. That's crazy.
Right. He can fire destructive celestial level energy, as well as absorb energy to increase his power. He has a super genius intellect derived not only from his millennia-spanning lifespan, but his access to celestial science.
What a ripoff of Black Adam.
What are you talking about? They have completely different powers. Apocalypse has so much more of them.
I guess, but it's sometimes less is more.
Okay, yeah, we'll see how much more of a beating Black Adam gets during the course of this fight.
All right.
So now that we've gone through these characters' histories and abilities, what we do now is Jonathan and I like to kind of improvise a scenario in which these two characters meet and we play out how we think the fight would go. We don't set up any rules for the match, save for the fact that they start about 50 yards apart from each other, and they don't know anything about each other, save for that the other one is a threat that needs to be destroyed.
Yeah, and additionally, we also don't consider the environment to play any kind of factor whatsoever in the match, because we don't account for it in the stats. And some characters will have environmental advantages in certain locations and not in others.
Right, so we just say they fight in a location where the environment plays no bearing. They have to win through their own merits, basically.
Right.
So let's go ahead and get this started. The characters start off facing each other 50 yards apart. Who goes first?
Well, I'll tell you who goes first. Black Adam.
Yeah, I think Black Adam would go first, because I think Apocalypse is a little bit more calculating and cunning, so he's going to see what Black Adam does.
Black Adam speeds over to him in a flash and plunges his fist into Apocalypse's chest.
Okay, so Apocalypse opens a hole in his chest that Black Adam's fist just goes through, and from that hole, he forms like this vice that clasps onto Black Adam's hand, trapping him there.
Okay.
And with Black Adam trapped, Apocalypse forms his two arms into cannons that just fire point blank right into Black Adam's face.
Okay, but Black Adam is super fast. So as Apocalypse is forming these cannons, Black Adam just like skyrockets into the air with him in his fist, then slams him down to the ground at full force. So Apocalypse is getting slammed as Black Adam is getting shot.
Okay, so at that point they probably like blast apart from each other.
Right.
Apocalypse lifts himself from whatever crater he's in with a big smile on his face because he has like a worthy adversary here now.
And Black Adam wipes that smile off his face with a lightning bolt right in the kisser.
Okay, I will say that the lightning bolt, it's powerful magic lightning is probably going to hurt Apocalypse in the beginning, But Apocalypse is likely going to be able to adapt to this energy blast by creating a set of like Van de Graaff generators, like those spherical metal balls that can conduct lightning between them. So he absorbs the lightning.
He can't do anything with magic lightning.
Sure,
it's magic.
It's lightning.
It's magic lightning.
He can absorb it. He absorbs it, and it starts powering him up, and Apocalypse grows to like twice the size that he normally was.
I don't think he could do...
He can do that. He's gone up against magical characters before.
Who?
Thor. He's gone up against Thor multiple times.
Oh, gosh. Okay, Black Adam sees those, and then he just rushes over there, grabs them with his hands, and just shatters them.
Big deal. Apocalypse has already absorbed the energy. So those shattered Van de Graaff generator balls that Black Adam crushed, they reform into like these mace heads, like balls with spikes at the end of them. And he just smashes Black Adam in between them over and over again, crushing him and stabbing him with the spiked balls.
You say over and over again, but again, like, Black Adam is not just gonna stand there and keep getting hit. Not only is he super durable, like he's traded blows with like Superman, Orion, like guys that are stronger than Apocalypse. But he's super fast, so he's gonna move out of the way, and then using the wisdom of ShDEsI, he's gonna realize, hey, this guy just absorbed my lightning. I bet he can't absorb all of it.
Yeah, he can.
No, he can't.
He can absorb a fuck ton of energy.
Not this amount, so he just like overloads him with lightning and electricity.
That's kind of like Apocalypse's thing. He absorbs energy through external sources.
Yeah, but he can't absorb
this
amount of energy.
I've never seen
magical energy.
I've never seen him not be able to absorb any amount of energy. So, like, you're just making him, like, the size of a fucking skyscraper going up against Black Adam now.
Big whoop! You think Black Adam's scared? He's not scared.
And with this increased power, the wisdom of ShDEsI did him no favors. Apocalypse is going to slow Black Adam down using a telepathic attack. So his mind is going to be bombarded.
No, except that the wisdom of ShDEsI has magical barriers that prevent him from being psychic.
Is that true?
Yes.
No, that's not. You just made that up right now.
Yes, I totally did. No, actually, Black Adam has been psychically manipulated before.
Well, there you go. So yeah, Apocalypse is telepathically slowing Black Adam down long enough for Apocalypse to just step on him and crush him beneath his foot.
Okay, but when Apocalypse like lifts his foot, Black Adam's no longer there.
Why?
Because he like drilled down into the ground, and then he like explodes out of the ground nearby and just plows like straight through Apocalypse.
Oh, straight through his shapeshifter body? That he just opens a hole open for him and gets him to go through? There's no way that Black Adam could hurt Apocalypse. I just don't see it happening. I mean, Apocalypse can be hit, of course, but especially with how powerful he is now, I just don't see how punches are going to hurt him. Or lightning.
Dude, Apocalypse gets beaten like every 10 years. Black Adam, he also gets beaten
every issue.
No, not every issue. He's like, again, taking on all of the DC heroes.
Well, again, I mean, Apocalypse has taken on all the X-Men as well as many of the Avengers as well, including 2 Thors at the same time. If he could take on 2 Thors at the same time, I'm pretty sure he can handle 1 Black Adam. So after Black Adam flies through Apocalypse, yet again, Apocalypse forms this huge giant gun pointing back behind him that fires this huge celestial blast that just disintegrates Black Adam.
Well, I don't know where to go from there, except to say that he just, like, straight up rips Apocalypse's dick off.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You can dismember Apocalypse, but as long as there's 1 drop of blood remaining of him, due to the techno-organic virus, he can be restored.
Oh my gosh.
So there you go. Let's go ahead and take it to the stats. Now, I totally stomped you during this speculation.
No, you didn't.
But as always, it comes down to the numbers.
Oh, I know what Black Adam does, what he follows up with.
What?
He takes out his scarab amulet, and he absorbs Apocalypse's soul in it.
He can't do that. Has he ever done that in the comics?
No, but he's used the amulet to, like, bestow power and stuff like that.
Apocalypse can bestow power.
That's what the amulet... So can Black Adam. What a ripoff.
All right, we're going to run the simulations. We'll be right back, guys. All right, we're back with the results. This kind of felt like a Superman versus Blue Beetle on a million steroids type of fight. It was pretty interesting to see how the stats compared to each other. These 2 characters are pretty comparable in terms of like speed, strength, and durability. Where they did differ, though, were on stats such as like evasiveness and strategic intelligence, and their overall damage output, their ability to inflict damage across a wide radius, which is what we call the damage level stat.
Right.
So, I mean, but all these differences were minor. So I'm guessing that this is actually going to come out pretty closer perhaps than what the speculation would have you believe. Black Adam can absolutely hold his own. Jonathan is just sick, and he couldn't really think of anything creative to do against a character like Apocalypse.
It's kind of hard to be creative with someone like Black Adam, who's basically, super strong, super fast, he can fly, he shoots lightning.
That's pretty good.
There's only so far that like super wisdom can take you in a match,
Yeah,
So,
whereas like Apocalypse has almost like all the powers, or at least a wide variety.
yeah, the advantages that Apocalypse did have were things like, he is psychic. So, it's comparing like minor clairvoyance to being psychic.
Right.
Or like, being able to, disintegrate a skyscraper with a lightning bolt compared to like being able to destroy a city with like a major like celestial energy blast.
Right. Exactly. So let's go ahead and get the results of this match and see what these numbers came out to.
Okay, so if you had to guess.
Apocalypse.
Okay, so you're wrong. No, you're actually right. The winner is Apocalypse. But what percentage do you think they won? You said it was close.
Yeah, I think the percentage of wins that Apocalypse won was probably like high 60s, low 70s.
Well, we've been doing this long enough that you've gotten like pretty good at guessing the percentages.
Thanks, man.
Did you cheat? Did you look?
No, I did not.
All right, well, the percentage of wins that Apocalypse got in the 1,000 matches was 73.7%.
Awesome. Nailed it.
And Black Adam won 26.3%. So Black Adam would lose to Apocalypse about 3/4 of the time.
Okay, so Apocalypse won 737 matches out of 1,000.
Right, and Black Adam won 263.
I'm not surprised.
I am really surprised. Oh my gosh, I'm super surprised. For these battles, I'll sneak a peek at some other comic sites like Comic Vine or something like that and just see what other people have to say about these matches, if they do think of these matches as well. And like everyone had Black Adam winning, but like there's no way in the stats that Black Adam is beating Apocalypse.
Right, yeah.
Which is unfortunate.
I think Black Adam has a lot of fans. He's a pretty interesting character. He's like Shazam, but a little bit more badass, honestly.
He is a badass.
So
he's super badass.
So yeah, I can see where a lot of people would want Black Adam to win, but just judging off the numbers, he does not win a majority of the time.
No.
So in your face.
But even
all
then,
you Black Adam fans.
But even then, like I think more people are aware of the name Apocalypse than Black Adam. You say Black Adam, they're like, who?
Well, it's because there's not a whole lot of DC fans out there in the world. You guys are kind of like a rare breed.
Shut the fuck up.
That does it for this episode. If you guys have anything to say about this matchup, if you disagree or if you agree, go ahead and reach out to us via social media on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. And you can find links to all of our profiles by visiting dynamicduel.com.
Yeah, and also on dynamicduel.com, you'll find a link to our merchandise store, which is on tpublic.com. Now, if you use the link that's on our website, if it's your first purchase, you'll get 15% off.
So yeah, definitely take advantage of that.
Yeah, it's like cash in your pocket.
Yeah.
But you have to spend cash to get the other cash in your pocket.
Get a custom tee, get a custom mug.
Who doesn't want a shirt of Apocalypse besides me?
Oh, I totally do. I might definitely have to get one of those Apocalypse shirts.
We'll see how good the drawing comes out.
You better make it good. Again, guys, don't forget that we are on Spotify now. So if you have a Spotify account and you like listening to podcasts on Spotify, add us on there and follow us, and you'll get all of our updated episodes as they come out.
Next week, we will be reviewing Shazam. I've already seen the film.
I have not.
It is amazing. It's already hands down like in my top 3 favorite superhero films of all time.
Yeah, but you always tell people that every DC movie that comes out is the greatest movie that has ever come out, and in an effort to try to get them to see that movie.
No, I haven't done that.
You go to work all the time and they're like, oh, how was Aquaman? You're like, oh my god, it was the greatest movie of all time.
It was the greatest movie of all time.
How was Suicide Squad? Oh my god, it was the greatest movie of all time.
No. You're exaggerating.
We'll see how it is. I mean, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Motherfucker, it has 93% on the Rotten Tomatoes meter.
Dang, that's actually really good.
Yeah, it is. And speaking of the Rotten Tomatoes meter, once again, if you're listening to us on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, or if you know anyone with an iOS device, please give us a rating on those devices so that we can end up on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And that Shazam rating could get to 94%.
We'll see. All right, guys. We'll talk to you next week.
Up and away.
True believers.